back to Drunk on Writing and the latest episode of the Tarantino Dissection. It's brought to you in part through the patronage of Ariya Norinth. Today, in this special dissection excerpt, we're taking a closer look at Pulp Fiction's middle chapter, The Gold Watch, which is a very weird segment. Now, this chapter starts with Christopher Walken introducing us to the gold ass watch in that beautiful speech of his. And while evocative of his performance in The Deer Hunter, this has got to be one of the most memorable monologues of his or anyone's career, even if he forgot his lines halfway through. Honestly, it made it even better. Did you know the kid who played Butch here actually sat through the entire speech? I mean, the things we subject kids to, man, I tell you. But this gold watch, if you listen carefully, you realize it's only been worn in times of war. First the Great War, then World War II, and finally the Vietnam War. I don't think I should say finally, actually, because, well, once Butch, played of course by Bruce Willis, who was convinced by his friend Harvey Keitel to be part of the film. He was a fan of Reservoir Dogs. Once he gets that watch off the kangaroo, ever notice the kangaroo's boxing gloves? It's like a spirit animal, but also, I guess, a nice tie back, as is him singing the Captain Kangaroo theme song, to him learning about the watch's existence from Coons, isn't it? But when he slips the watch on, he certainly seems to go to war, doesn't he? I mean, before he puts it on, he seems like he's going to be all right. Seems like he's going to get his winnings from reverse betting on his fixed match. Seems like he's off to join Andy and Red on the sunny Pacific with his is she pregnant girlfriend Fabienne. I mean, she's pregnant. I mean, why else would she be thinking about how sexy she'd look with a pot belly? Why else would she want a huge breakfast complete with blueberry pie? Why else would she say, as Bruce Willis slips out of frame for her pleasure, Butch, my love, our adventure begins. Little baby Butchie. I mean, that's obvious to me now after having children. I never picked up on it before. And true story here, that's what they called my dad when he was young, little baby Butchie. Yeah, true fact. But then, perhaps because he also succumbs to the curse of the bathroom, and after a quick crossover with Marvel's Ant-Man, he puts the watch on. And what happens here? The very next thing, his confrontation with Vincent. And you know how it goes from there. But I'm slightly ahead of myself, aren't I? We skip the entirety of Butch's cab ride with Esmeralda Villalobos, a Spanish name, as she points out, though she's Colombian. It means of the wolves, which she explains in the extended version of the scene. As well as the brief, seemingly final reunion between Vincent and Mia. So brief and nonchalant, I'd say we know for certain now that their moment has passed. And also, that the time for romance in this film has passed, as we quickly bypass them to focus instead on Marcellus. Standing over the fighter we discover is dead, who's been killed by Butch in the bloodiest bout one radio announcer has ever seen. I wonder how that other fight on the marquee went. What was it? Vossler versus Martinez? Two buddies from Tarantino's video store days, duking it out, it seems. Of course, Butch's last name being Coolidge was also played on here, with that Coolidge versus Wilson thing. Ask my wife, and she'll tell you I know nothing about the presidents, the past presidents, but apparently those two were often compared or something? It's beyond me. Back to important matters, though, in many ways, the cab drive is a necessity in this film. It not only lays up the insanity, the larger-than-life scenario we're about to witness, through Esmeralda herself, of course, who is such a weird inclusion in this story and directly taken from the 1991 short film Curdled, albeit with a name change. But this scene also gives us a lull, some breathing room to recover and prepare. For what? For Vincent to get blown the heck away with Marcellus's discarded MAC-10. Then, moments later, for Butch to confront Marcellus, run him down, launch a shootout, complete with a split-focus shot that, unlike Tarantino's previous efforts, works perfectly, and culminating in a beatdown you fully expect to go one way, but which is then interrupted by Maynard, played by Dwayne Whitaker, and his brother Zed, played by Peter Green, who had quite the year, given 1994 also saw the release of the only other film I know him from, The Mask. Yeah, he played a not-so-nice guy there, too. Tarantino actually wanted the late Christopher Jones to play Zed. You might not know the name. I didn't. Because except for one small part in 96's Mad Dog Time, which he did as a favor to a friend, Christopher Jones quit acting after the 1969 murder of Sharon Tate, the topic, as seems to be the case often here, of a future episode in this series. Now, of all the turns in Pulp Fiction, this has got to be the biggest WTF moment, right? Them waking up gagged, tied up, Zed's arrival, and then the Gimp, who has no official backstory, though Tarantino has said he imagined the Gimp was once a hitchhiker who'd been picked up by Zed and Maynard 7 years earlier. Presumably after the name dropped, yet never explained Russell, served his purpose. Just, wow. You know, if you think about it, Butch gets off kind of easy here. Not just in the end when he's given a pass to go about his life, giving him, despite a broken nose, a bum leg, and a crashed Hana, one of the film's few happy endings, though he does go out on the 4-note Twilight Zone motif as used in the Marquette's Out of Limits, so who knows how it all really ends. I mean, Twilight Zone wasn't known for ending happily. Not just there, but along the whole way. I mean, he lucks out with his timing at the apartment, with the game of eeny meeny, with the way he breaks his binds with relatively minimal effort, then knocks the Gimp out with one punch. And from there, if he wanted to, he could have pretty much gone about his life without a care. But here's the thing. Butch, he's an honorable man. We know from that cab drive and from the earlier setup in the club that he's an honorable man, a prideful man. Remember, pride stings. And if he had followed Marcellus's advice, that whole pride only hurts, it never helps, Butch would have left. He would have left Marcellus to his fate, his cries drowned out by the rebels Comanche. Sidebar, Tarantino wanted the Nax My Sharona for this part, but the rights had already been licensed. So, like I said, Butch, he's honorable. And with an honorable weapon and his family's watch, his family's pride, front and center, he saves the man who had only just vowed to scour the earth to end him. A man who we last see, chronologically, with his back to us, standing over the squirming Zed. Dehumanized. Elevated. Absolutely terrifying. Reminding me again that so much of this film is to his service. Yeah, Marcellus is a pretty badass character. He's like this godlike figure in the Pulp Fiction world. I just kind of love him. But we'll cover that more another time, because this has been a Drunk on Writing excerpt exploring Pulp Fiction's middle chapter, The Gold Watch. If you enjoyed this episode, please be sure to check out the other excerpts or the full Pulp Fiction dissection. And if you'd like more like these, please subscribe to the channel or head on over to drunkonwriting.com where you can get more episodes more often. Until next time, cheers.